Hello everyone, I'm Cameron and welcome to another video. Today we're going to do another album review, and I've wanted to do this one for quite a while. I thought about doing this one over the last sort of few days, and I thought I might as well do it, and I gave the album a re-listen, and that kind of made me excuse me, kind of want to do this this video. So today we're going to be reviewing Tom Petty's album Full Moon Fever. So in this video we're going to go over a bit of background about the album, show you my copies of the album individually, go over each song individually, and give the album as a whole a marking out of 10. So Full Moon Fever was Tom Petty's 8th album, but it was his first solo album, released on the 24th of April 1989 on MCA Records. Now, this album kind of came about kind of just by accident in a sense, because Tom Petty was on tour with Bob Dylan. He and the Heartbreakers were touring in England with Bob Dylan in the September-October of 1987, and then the tour ended in London, and they had a little backstage party because it was Tom's birthday after the tour, and so George Harrison was there, Jeff Lynne was there, Ringo was there, and Roger McGuinn all attended this little party. And Tom was then given an advance tape of George Harrison's coming album Cloud 9, which was later released, and that had been produced by Jeff Lynne, and Tom really liked it, and he kind of felt like he wanted to get together and work with Jeff Lynne. So while Tom was out running an errand, he happened to see Jeff. And he said to Jeff, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm producing Brian Wilson, who's from the Beach Boys." And Tom's like, "Oh, I'd really like to work with you sometime." And Jeff says, "Yeah, sure." So then later on, Tom was going to a restaurant for lunch or dinner with his daughters, and he happened to walk in, and George Harrison was there with. He was having a little sort of meeting at this restaurant with the boss of Warner Brothers, who was George's label, or Dark Horse rather, and he was getting Tom's number from Jeff Lynne, and it was just kind of a strange coincidence. And George is like, "Oh, I was just trying to get a hold of you there." And so in between this period where like the album was kind of coming together and Jeff and Tom were kind of writing songs, they had the Traveling Wilburys, of course, with Bob Dylan and Roy Orbison, and I think the album was kind of recorded before the Wilburys came about, in kind of like late 1987 into 1988, and I think the recording kind of continued kind of after the Wilburys, because the Wilburys album was recorded in May of '88 and was out in October. So this album was kind of on the hot and the heels of the Traveling Wilburys. Jeff Lynne produces the album with Tom, but guitarist Mike Campbell, who'd been with Tom Petty from like the very early days of Mudcrutch, also produces this album and participates. So it's the albums like Jeff, Tom, and Mike, but there's collaborations from George Harrison as well, and Roy Orbison. So you almost get all the Wilburys in this album. And they recorded the album in Mike Campbell's garage studios at his home, which they also later recorded Roy Orbison's Mystery Girl album and Del Shannon's Rock On album were also done in that, because this was a kind of a time when Tom was sort of hanging out and working with Roy Orbison, as were the other members of the Heartbreakers like Beaumont Tench and Howie Epstein were also helping with Roy and Del. However, when it came to this album, the Heartbreakers were a little different about it. Particularly Stan Lynch, he didn't like having to play these songs live on the album's tour, and Beaumont believed that the Heartbreakers were going to be making an album, that they were going to do a Heartbreakers record. So he called up one of their kind of technical road guys, like Alan Bugs Weedle, who's been like their kind of technical guy and their kind of roadie a bit, and he said to them, "Oh, when are we expecting to start recording?" Because he assumed that they were going to start making the album. And he's like, "Oh, has no one told you? Tom and Mike are recording a solo record with Jeff." And the Heartbreakers kind of felt a bit threatened by this, but Tom just kept reassuring them, "Look, I'm going to get to you guys, and we're going to get back, don't worry." And the Heartbreakers also, as I say, worked on other people's projects as well, from Del Shannon to Roy Orbison and Don Henley, because Stan, I think, produced Don Henley's album. But Howie Epstein, during one of the sessions, was meant to come in, and he's like, and Tom's like, "Oh, and don't worry, we're going to get to your bit in a minute." And Howie's like, "No, I don't really like this song." And Tom's like, "Well, if you don't like it, you don't have to play it." And he says, "That's okay." So it in the end being a Tom Petty solo album, and the album eventually came out in the April of 1989, and it was a commercial success. It reached number 3 on the Billboard US 200 albums chart, and number 8 in the UK. And this would be one of 3 Tom Petty albums to reach the UK top 10, with the others being Into the Great Wide Open, the album after this, in 1991, and Hypnotic Eye in 2014. Why didn't he have more UK top 10 albums? I don't know, but anyway. Another little fact was that MCA almost rejected the album. They didn't want to release the album for some reason, and Tom played it to his old friend Denny Cordell, who had produced the album, first 2 albums that he had done. And Denny loved it, and he's like, Tom's like, I'm glad you love it because the record company don't want to release it. But MCA eventually backed down, see what I did there, and released the album. So anyway, really, really great album. It was well received, and it's definitely considered a fan favourite amongst Tom Petty's fans. It's definitely a favourite of mine, and one I really like quite a lot as well. So anyway, here's the front. Really like that colour. It's like different colours, and it's a picture of Tom with the guitar. Back cover. There's all the songs. This is a 2016 reissue for Universal. I bought this a few months after Tom Petty passed away. I got this in like the January of 2018, and Tom had passed away in the October, and the original pressings of these were getting really difficult to find, and probably that's the case now, but anyway, I'm glad I got this copy. This is my first copy of the album I owned, actually. There's all the songs there. And it has the inner sleeve. This was the original inner sleeve, what it came with. So the album, as I say, was recorded at Mike Campbell's Garage Studios, but also they did a bit of recording at Rumbo Studios and Sunset Sound and Sound City, where of course they done Damn the Torpedoes, and where they would later do Wildflowers, Conway and Devonshire. The drummer on this album was a guy called Phil Jones, who'd been their percussionist, and Phil Jones later did a bit of drums for Mystery Girl by Roy Orbison and Rock On by Del Shannon. Jim Keltner also plays drums on here. Roy Orbison, of course, is backing vocals on a song, which we'll touch upon later on. So yeah, good to see that. There's Unislip with all the lyrics and all the band personnel and whatnot. And here's the record itself in a plain white sort of lining a sleeve. And there's the record, very much a replica of the original, similar to the original pressing, with a customised label. It's like a face in the centre of the moon. 180 gram vinyl as well, so yeah. It also comes with a download card as well, but I don't really need this download card because I have the CD, which I'm just about to show in a minute once I get all this back in. So that one, and then here's the CD copy. This is an original CD copy from back in 1989. This one was my dad's CD, so this one was one that he handed down to me. There's the back. And it has a book as well, like always. All the lyrics and whatnot. This one has kind of like more pictures than the LP inner sleeve did. And it would be nice if one of these pictures made the vinyl, but hey ho. That's a nice picture of Tom there with like a 12-string guitar. Booklet with all sorts of like the cow jumping over the moon sort of effect. I'm not sure what that's all about, but anyway. That's a nice picture of Tom. That's him with like the drums and the guitar in the back. I think the album was initially intended to be called Songs from the Garage, and it had a photograph of Tom in Mike Campbell's garage studio, but I think it was later changed, and I think this might have been the original cover. I'm not intended cover, I'm not sure. So yeah, there's the CD. So we're going to go over the album's tracks now. So we open up with Free Fallin', and what can you say about Free Fallin' that hasn't already been said? It is a great, great song. Really is a great song. I love the way it starts with the guitars, the bling, bling, bring, bring, bring. It's a good way to start off the song and the album. And Tom's lyrics are great. This was, I think, one of the first ones he wrote with Jeff. One of the first songs that he wrote with Jeff Lynne. And it's a really, really good song. And great lyrics as well, great vocal. Kind of references to sort of Los Angeles and California, like Reseda, Ventura Boulevard, Mulholland. to all those sorts of little references of like Los Angeles, which is where Tom Petty lived for pretty much most of his life since like the 1970s with Mudcrutch days. Yeah, great one. This is perhaps the one that the kind of song that people really remember Tom Petty for the most these days, and I don't know why that. I don't know, but it's a great song. But I'm not sure why you would only really know him for Free Fallin', because Tom Petty, in my opinion, has a seriously underrated back catalogue which people have yet to discover. But anyway, I'm waffling on, kind of going off a bit sidetracked. But anyway, great song there, Free Fallin', and one that Tom Petty would play in concert from this point forward on into like his later years. Great song. One that you hear quite a lot when it comes to Tom Petty. Then we have I Won't Back Down. One of my favourite Tom Petty songs and one of my favourites from this album. This was another single, as was Free Fallin'. This again is pretty much another one that people can remember Tom Petty for the most, but still a really, really great song. And in the video you see George Harrison and Ringo Starr in the video, whereas the drums was played by Phil Jones on the studio track on the album. But on the video you do see Ringo Starr in it, so that's pretty cool. Really love the lyrics, kind of like in a sense of kind of. It was inspired after like Tom's house had burned down in 1987 before the Let Me Up I've Had Enough era. Remember at the time of Let Me Up I've Had Enough, the album before this, Tom's house had burned down. And the lyrics, it could be said the lyrics were sort of inspired from that experience. You know, somebody tried to knock Tom down, but he was adamant he wasn't going to get knocked down or back down from whoever set the house on fire. And that was never really solved. That case was never solved. But anyway, really great song, one of my favourites. I love the great lyrics, I love the backing vocals with Jeff, and the production with Jeff as well is great on here as well. Really, really great song, one of my favourites, I Won't Back Down, and definitely one that I would recommend if you've not heard of Tom Petty, but still, great song. Love is a Long Road. Love is a Long Road is one of those ones that's kind of not as well known, but it appears on Greatest Hits from time to time because it has appeared in the Anthology Through the Years album, and sometimes this did often make Tom's set lists on some of the live concerts he did. I like the little keyboard start, and then it does the guitar just comes in. It like makes it kind of gives it a bit of a hard rock vibe. When the minute the guitar comes in at the start of the track, yeah, really, really great way to start the song. I really like the kind of Tom's vocals, the backing vocals as well, which Howie Epstein did, and Howie Epstein actually did backing vocals on I Won't Back Down as well, which I just saw there. Even though he was kind of slagging off the album, even though members of the Heartbreakers had slagged off the kind of album, they still nonetheless participated in some shape or form. But anyway, really great song, and one that I do remember from like the Greatest Hits, because there's a song called Anthology Through the Years, and that's a great CD. That song's on it. So yeah, really great song, Love is a Long Run. It's recently kind of got a bit of a popularity again, because I think it was used in what was it used in? I think it was Game of Thrones. They might have used it for one of the Game of Thrones thing, I don't know. No, not Game of Thrones. Can't remember what it was, but it was used in something just recently, like a film trailer, I think. For something anyway. I don't know what it was. I might need, hopefully somebody can comment down below if they can find out what it was, but I know it recently got a bit of reappraisal after being used for that. Then we have A Face in the Crowd. Definitely one of Tom Petty's kind of more mellow or acoustic type of songs, but it's one of my a great one, one I really like as well. Kind of like basically saying, before all of this, you know, you were just a face in the crowd, and it kind of it's a really great song. It's maybe a song that kind of makes you think of somebody that you're really appreciative is in your life, like maybe a friend or a loved one or whoever it may be, you know. It just makes you think of somebody or something, that kind of song. It's a really, really great one of my favourites. One that doesn't really get talked about too often when it comes to Tom Petty, but still a great one. Then we get Running Down a Dream. Running Down a Dream is a great hard rocker, and another one that people really remember Tom Petty for quite well. And of course, there's a little Tom does a little nod to one of his heroes, Del Shannon, who I've mentioned quite a few times in the video. Now, Del Shannon was a rock and roller from the 60s Tom Petty had admired and loved, like a lot of people, as had the Heartbreakers. And Jeff was also a fan, and like Tom says in the line, trees went by, me and Del were singing A Little Runaway, in reference to Del Shannon's big 1961 hit Runaway. Kind of similar to what Bruce Springsteen did in Thunder Road, when he mentioned the line Roy Orbison singing For the Lonely. A little nod to his idol as well, one of his music heroes as well. But anyway, great song, really great hard rocking track, and I really love the guitar solo at the end there. I think played by Mike Campbell, who's one of the most underrated guitar players of all time, in my opinion. Really great guitar. So I think it lasts for about a minute, like towards the end of the song, but great solo. One of my favourite like guitar solos because it's quite a long one, and it's a great one. It's also like it's the sort of song you want a blare. If you're driving in the car and it's a sunny day, you have to roll your window down and turn that up. That's the sort of song that it makes me want to do it to. But I haven't got a car, so hey ho. But still, great tune. One of my favourite rock tunes from the 80s and Tom Petty songs. And one that you actually hear quite often on the radio sometimes. I think I heard it one time on Absolute Classic Rock, or was it? I think it was Simon Mayo's album show, or Simon Mayo. I know it was one of those sort of radio shows. But still, great one. Now we turn it over to side 2, and then we have Feel a Whole Lot Better. This was originally a Byrds cover written by Gene Clark, who was from the Byrds, and Tom Petty does really. And the Byrds obviously would of course a big influence on Tom Petty with the sort of Rickenbacker jangly sound. That came from like the Byrds and the Beatles. So that's kind of sound. So the Byrds were a big influence on Tom Petty, and he covered this Gene Clark song, or Byrds song called Feel a Whole Lot Better. I really like the backing vocals on the track, a really great sort of music to it, like the guitar and whatnot's great on it. Really great one. One that I really like quite a lot, and one that's kind of grown on me just recently was Feel a Whole Lot Better. One that I kind of forgot about a bit, but then I kind of listened to it again just the other day, I think, and I actually remembered it being a good song. So yeah. But actually, in between Running Down a Dream and Feel a Whole Lot Better, there's a little snippet dialogue called Hello CD Listeners. It basically was where Tom basically was saying, we've come to the point in the album where those listening on record or cassette will have to stand up or sit down to turn the record or tape over. In fairness to those listeners, we'll take a few moments before we begin side 2. Now, at the time, a little historical point, CDs were kind of becoming a big thing, even though people probably still bought vinyl or cassette back in the day. CD was now becoming a dominant format in pop, in like music, and vinyl was slowly beginning to sort of outsell records. CDs were beginning to outsell records by this point in time. So this was a sort of big thing, which is why that's in the middle, is because in reference to the new sort of CD format. It was beginning to sort of take off at this point, even though people still bought like things like the cassette or the vinyl. So anyway, and they will later do something like that for Into the Great Wide Open called Attention Cassette Listeners. So anyway, back to this album. So Feel a Whole Lot Better is a really good one. Then we get You're So Bad. You're So Bad has some pretty fun, funny lyrics. You know, my sister got lucky, married a yuppie, took him for all, but he was worth. And then he says, now she's a swinger dating a singer, I can't decide which is worse. So pretty humorous lyrics there. And a really great song. And this was the first song they wrote, Tom and Jeff Lynne wrote together. They just kind of wrote a song, and this was the first thing that they did together. And yeah, really great one. Again, and this I think was a single. I think it might have been a single. I think it was a single. I could be right or I could be wrong, but I do know it was a single, and it also appears on the Anthology Through the Years CD compilation, which is a really good CD. And yeah, You're So Bad, really great one. There's also a video for this song as well, I think, given that, that it was a single. But yeah, I really like that one, You're So Bad, one of my favourites from the album. Then we have Depending on You. Depending on You is a good song, one that I quite like, but it's not one I'm kind of familiar with, but still a good song, one that I really like quite a lot. One that I kind of maybe need to listen to a bit more before I become kind of familiar with it, but still, really good song. Then we have The Apartment Song. The Apartment Song, and this was, out of all the songs on Full Moon Fever, this one had been written long before the album. This had been written during the era of Southern Accents and been recorded during the period of Southern Accents, and a demo version of that was issued on the playback box set in 1995. But Tom re-recorded it for Full Moon Fever, and Benmont Tench plays piano in this one. He did a little tink 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 thing on it. But yeah, Benmont kind of didn't really have much nice to say, but he's like, I only really got to play in one song, and they only really said to me, can you come and do this sort of ding 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 sort of thing, but hey ho. But anyway, I like the bit in the middle where it kind of does a little sort of homage to Buddy Holly in the song Peggy Sue, where the kind of rolling drums and the guitar does a bit of like a Buddy Holly thing on it. But yeah, really, really great song. Really like that one, the Apartment song. Then we have Alright For Now. Alright For Now is a little nice acoustic number, one that the Heartbreakers said they would often close their concerts with. Really just nice acoustic song. That one I think was done with just Tom and Mike. I think Jeff had gone back to England by this point in time for a period before he came back to America, and this is one that I think Tom and Mike just basically did by themselves, but a really, really great one. One that I really like, a nice soft acoustic ballad for the album, really. Yeah, kind of like a nice sort of lullaby in a sense. One of my favourites from the album though, Alright For Now. Then we get A Mind With a Heart of Its Own. A Mind With a Heart of Its Own again, good song, but one I need to get more familiar with. There's a couple of tracks in this album I don't know as well yet, but I'll hopefully try and get familiar with these ones. Mind With a Heart of Its Own, but still a really, really great, good song, one I like. And even there's a little sort of thing in the middle of the song where Tom says, my middle name is Earl, and of course that was his middle name. Kind of like what Mika did years later with his album My Name Is Michael Holbrook, which of course is his real name. He called his album My Name Is Michael Holbrook, which of course was his real name. So anyway, Mind With a Heart of Its Own. Then we have Zombie Zoo. Zombie Zoo's the last track from the album, and a really, really good song. This is one that features Roy Orbison on backing vocals, and there's actually footage on the Mystery Girl Unraveled documentary, which is about the making of Roy's album. There's actually footage of him, Roy, Jeff and Tom doing backing vocals to the song. They're going la 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 la, like a thing, la 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 la, la la la, that sort of thing. I think that's them doing that's Jeff and Roy doing backing vocals to the song. And really, really great song. I really like the kind of and the sort of beat and the kind of vibe and the sort of guitar. Yeah, really, really good song. Really like that one. Really good way to close the album off, Zombie Zoo. So, the album Full Moon Fever. This album, yeah, gets a 10 out of 10, no question. Definitely one of my favourite albums of Tom Petty's and of the catalogue. And it's definitely it was definitely one of Tom Petty's most commercially successful. And as I said earlier, it's one that fans kind of think of as their favourite, along with things like Damn the Torpedoes or Wildflowers, Into the Great Wide Open or Heart Promises, or even the Traveling Wilburys stuff that he did. So still a really, really great album. This was the one that Tom Petty said that he definitely enjoyed making the most, was this album. I read that somewhere, that Tom Petty said this was the one that he really enjoyed making the most. And it's definitely a favourite. And of course Tom had the Heartbreakers come on the Full Moon Fever tour. But then after this album he kind of got the Heartbreakers back for the next album, Into the Great Wide Open, which was also done by Jeff Lynne, but that's another video for another topic. We'll probably, or maybe discuss that when we do the Tom Petty career review video. But that's a video I really want to do. But once I've kind of heard all of Tom Petty's albums, that's one we're going to do, is the Tom Petty career review, because I definitely would like to do something like that. But and in a few weeks' time, the album will be 35, so kind of perfect timing to make this video in a sense. But hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more content, and if you like the video. And I'll see you again for the next video. So till then, bye just now.